Hello, it's David Hoffman, filmmaker. I'm sitting here at the time of the coronavirus pandemic in my office, and I'm thinking about my life. I've been around a while, other times when things were stressed like they are now. And I know some people are going to be seeing this video far in the future when I'm not even sure you'll remember what the coronavirus was. But it's a time when everybody's afraid, everybody's home. Things are pretty shocking, not only in America, but around the world. So there was this other time. It was back in 1968 and 69 when the United States was completely fractured. We were fractured. 50% of us felt, get out of the Vietnam War, it's wrong. 50% of us felt, stand behind our government, and if the government says the war is necessary, it is. 50% felt the country was going backward and had to change, and 50% felt the country was moving forward, and the rest of you just ought to shut up. It was a very tense time, even in my own family. I went to a Thanksgiving dinner where some family members fought with other family members, and they didn't talk. I mean, some people left the Thanksgiving. It was very tense. So I'm sitting in my office back in 1968, and a filmmaker approaches me named Ken Anderson, much older than me. He's a Christian filmmaker, and he shows me this movie called Confrontation, where he needs some of my footage. The writing is beautiful. The way he expresses himself, how he puts the film together. I said, sure, you could use my footage. And I never saw him again. I know he went on to make some other films, but this film that I'm about to show you has never been on YouTube. I'm amazed by that. And at this time of crisis, when the country is split, when things are divided, when everything looks tense, I thought I'd run the Confrontation film that Ken Anderson made so long ago, which has some of my footage. If the time when you're watching this is such that there is no confrontation, there is no partisan divide in America or anywhere in the world, this may seem very strange to you to see the country so fractured as it was back then.
Not a very comfortable world, is it? Be nice if we could find a place to hide. But we can't. Can't hide. Can't run away. To find out just what kind of world it is, we've taken our cameras all across the face of it. North America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. Particularly in search of young people. What they're thinking. Saying.
First of all, you have to remember that black people are people and what drives any human being. And when you find out the things that drive any human being, such as hunger, thirst, anything else, the need to belong, the need to feel a part of, or the need to be respected, this is what motivates a black man.
They stifle us. They put us in little boxes, and we have to get out of those boxes.
And one way to get out of it is an alternative lifestyle. Like this.
Quote, the radical lifestyle. Long hair, hippies, dope, all that kind of thing. It's just against the establishment.
And all of these are mild distortions of middle-class American behavior anyway.
Not only the young people, but ordinary people of all ages, to control their own lives for themselves, not allow a handful of politicians and businessmen to control what we think and what we do.
The political system has to be restructured so that people have control over whatever institution is affecting them.
The war and some of the more militant groups, and then some of the honkies and, you know, establishment and the businessmen, they got so much against each other already that I think if they let it go any farther, it could really get nasty.
Here the life is different because everybody doesn't care about the others, but back home everybody cares about the other members.
The black man is going to be the leader of the revolution in America today, whether that revolution be violent or non-violent, whether that revolution be political or religious or whatever. He will be the leader simply because of the fact that he has been the most oppressed.
Plainly, the revolt is against the establishment. The status quo. Well, you're aware of the terminology, hippies, generation gap, the SDS. We, of course, focused our cameras on other kids, too. You know, the so-called silent majority. But the action is with the protest bloc. They may be only a segment of our society, but they hold the fuses, and relentless fire burns in their hearts. We gotta listen to these kids. When they talk, they're not just making noise. They're driving wedges, putting the axe to roots that have grown long and deep in the soil of our society. They're planting, too. New ideas, revolutionary, iconoclastic, determined, and devastating. Uncomfortable, isn't it? Listening to those kids makes you appreciate a little more that hour-long oasis in church once a week. Yeah, got to get these people back inside a church, back into the sanity sector of our society. Suburbia, decency. Can't they see what the establishment has done? Don't they understand what the good life means? No, they don't understand. Can't. Don't want to. But that's not the issue, really. The point is, we live in an era demanding change. Immediate, revolutionary change. It's the priority topic on the lips of these young people.
You're forced to take revolutionary action much similar to the same things that were that set up the foundation of this country. It was revolutionary, radicals.
There is a gap between leadership and the needs of the people.
There's always a cause behind it. In the first place, if everything was right, then there wouldn't be the rioting.
Well, like we feel that, we just don't dig the straight society, the society that we were born in.
People are not satisfied with the amount of control they have over their own lives. We want to give them more control.
People who control the economic system are using the political system for their own gain.
He must be one of those troublemakers. That is a selfish viewpoint, and I'm proud of it. Why? Because I'm an individual, and I have my individual rights.
It's a capitalist structure which has two basically inherent problems that are wrong with it. One, it's a system based on exploitation, which is broken down to the exploitation of people of color, which is the racial question. And two, it's an imperialist contradiction in the society, whereas you exploit people not on your soil, you go into foreign countries.
The more American soldiers in my country, the cost of living is getting higher, and the percentage of the prostitution is getting higher.
SDS is anti-imperialist, anti-capitalist, and anti-racist as its general program, and we're fighting to make a revolutionary change in this country, to turn it upside down, to change it and destroy it as it is and replace it with a more human society.
It plays with your mind.
I think one thing...
I would have to say that in relation
it
to that...
It destroys your mind. Yeah. Anyone who goes to this establishment, who grows up as a little kid and becomes an adult the way that they want you to be, in other words, the exact hole on the IBM card that they have decided that you should be, I think you come out with a very distorted, destroyed mind. And we're trying to change that.
Come gather round people wherever you roam.
Change has perhaps become most visible on the college campus. Once traditional, where the only time things really got rough was during the big game on Saturday afternoon, and where happiness was a tennis date after the last class on Tuesday. What happened? Who goofed? Oh, it's no use looking for somebody to blame, for an easy way out. A better idea would be to listen to some of these students. Find out what they're thinking and why.
The generation gap, both sides of it expound virtues which the other side seems to be living. And whether they get together or not is irrelevant. The changes will happen.
I think the biggest area of hypocrisy is probably the fact that everyone else tends to accuse the other person of being hypocritic, but tends to deny it about himself.
Morality today consists of do what you want as long as you're not bothering the guy next door. Anything voluntary, anything consenting, for example, extra or premarital sexual relations, drugs, gambling, All of these areas of traditional morality have pretty much gone to the wayside, and it's simply up to the individual.
Presently on college campuses to try to overthrow the establishment and make up their own rules to govern themselves.
Not too many people are interested in going to church on Sunday, or too much they take the Bible as more of a myth.
Students are molded and shaped into what this system decides it needs in order to keep its production at a certain level, to keep its economy at a certain level, not to be more human, but to be more productive.
Well, in India, the youth, they are changing. In the old days, they like to pay the highest respect to their elders, and now they think, well, they have all the rights to live the life as they like.
Not saying that capitalism is bad, not saying that some type of Marxist economy is good, but just the kind of suppression and inequity that is brought about by capitalism or the economic system.
It's a shook-up generation, let's face it.
I'm very worried about change.
Oh,
The sort of change
some of the young people have jumped onto the revolutionary bandwagon just for the ride, for kicks. But a lot of them are doing some serious thinking. Wise therapy for anyone concerned about the status of planet Earth these days.
The militancy is going to separate your society. It's going to polarize it. Black and white, radical and non-radical, left and right. This is going to polarize your society so that the unity that we're searching for is not going to come about.
What would it mean then, you see, to kind of flip that, like Jesus did in his time, to flip a whole new conception of humanness into the consciousness of people around the globe? That's what the revolution is about.
People are just too cold to each other. They don't get involved in each other's problems.
I think one of the big problems today with teenagers and grown-ups alike is the fact that they live next door to someone for maybe 20 years and they really don't know this person.
I think what is needed is for people to stop individually and look at themselves where they're at and realize their own lack of communication with inside of themselves, with God, and realize that they need someone or something to help them get to God, and I feel that this way is through Christ. And I think within the church also, within my own Christian quote-unquote community, I think there's a need for rebirth there for us to get up off of our cans and do something.
Onward, Christian soldiers. Marching where? To the supermarket? To the appliance store? To the life of ease? Affluence? Unconcern? Sure. Many young people today speak out against the church and society because of the lostness in their own souls, groping for answers, turning to drugs, sex, intellectualism, materialism. Not always, though. At least some of them once looked to the church, to their parents. Some looked in vain for a song they could sing, an example to follow, a faith to live by. Many of these kids, and don't you dare forget it, many of them desperately want the reality of faith, but they just don't believe they can find it in the church.
Back in the Old Testament, Amos, and how he just completely wrapped down anything to do with the organized religion or the institution. And as far as, I can't see anything working in the church because it's an institution. I haven't given up in many people of the church, but I have in the church structure. It reflects all of the problems that the total society reflects. The organized church. I think that there is a role for like the underground church in America today. I think it's a very progressive role. But the organized church does reflect the same oppressive conditions that the society reflects. It's like a mirror.
I'm not against religion if that's what a person needs.
The church is going to die because of what it stands for. I think if Christianity was relative to this world, if Christianity meant something, to people besides just cut everybody down, I don't want to listen to you, you're a doper, I don't want to listen to you, you're a freak or a hippie or whatever, the church reflects society. And society has got to change for it to be meaningful, and it's not doing it.
Ironically, while students speak out against Christianity in North America, one finds a resurgence of traditional religions overseas. intellectual Hinduism in India, Sokagaki in Japan. The trend is for young people everywhere to rethink their beliefs, liberalize the old ideas. They would give ear to the gospel if someone confronted them with it. Here is the searing shame. Christians have failed to communicate Christ to a world in revolution. On any one plane load, the United States government sent more soldiers to Vietnam than the church sent missionaries during any 10-year period. The tragedy of missions today is not closed doors. There are some, to be sure. The tragedy is open doors which we have failed to enter. Open doors, open minds, hearts. It's pretty obvious young people are thinking today. Their minds open, reaching out for answers.
Young people are idealistic as a whole. They know what they want, and they want it now. We know what's wrong with the world in our estimation, and we think it should be changed.
When that structure confines the humanness of that individual so that it can't explode, can't create, I mean, that's the kind of thing that has to be changed.
We tend to throw away our parents' ideas as far as what religion should really mean to us.
In a sense, I'm a revolutionary. That I think we have to return or find values of total freedom in so much as is possible for each person.
Objecting or resisting or dissenting, that's not the revolution. And yet it's the beginnings of a revolution. And, Jesus cuts over against that by just establishing a model of transformation of humanness. And that's what we're all about. And that's what's got to come,
They're looking for answers. And a few of them are finding answers. The answer.
They're looking for vital answers, and they're not finding them in sex or dope or whatever other hang-ups they might have. But yet they're finding them through Christ. And definitely this is the answer, the total answer.
It's only through God's love that we'll ever be able to ever conquer, or to even begin to even sincerely find the answer to the questions that involve our problems.
Oh, Jesus Christ, I can think that he's not a man. He's a Lord too, I believe that he's a savior, and he can save everybody. Believe in him.
They've got to look to something that hasn't changed for many years. They must look to the relevant parts of life. I think some of them should read the Bible and see that God is something that doesn't change. He's something they can get their firm faith on, and something they can stand by, for he is unchanging, and they can rest in this and get some insurance from this and some stability.
The only hope I can say is Jesus Christ. And it's not the time to destroy the church, but it's to help to build the church with what it has. So we've got to get together. That's not black and black, but black and white. We've got to be serious. We've got to be concerned without the personal prejudice hang-ups. And this is really on both sides.
Stop the world, I want to get off? Hardly. As never before in almost 2,000 years, Christians face inescapable responsibilities and unprecedented opportunities. We dare not take a passive attitude toward our world. We dare not settle for self-righteous, self-satisfied, materialistic Christianity. What you've seen and heard the last few minutes may frighten you. But these young people are more than problems. They pulsate with potential. Let's introduce them to Christ, who can give them a song to sing, a purpose worth living for, a cause worth dying for. The issues in our world are not simply capitalism versus communism, freedom against totalitarianism. The issue is spiritual lethargy versus dynamic commitment. Be part of that commitment. Don't expect easy answers. You can't quote a verse, whisper a prayer, sing a stanza, drop $1 into the offering plate, and thereby discharge your responsibility to a lost world. Nor can you sit back and wait for Christian leaders to come up with the answers. Reaching out to the needs of our troubled world calls for the total commitment of every true believer. That means you, me. We must spread the dynamic gospel of the risen Christ more aggressively than ever before. All right, let's do it then. Let's go, let's give, let's believe. Let's be a living thrust of the answer, each of us, to young people across the sea and across the street, to a generation searching for reality. We must rise to the mandate of our Master who said, "You shall be witnesses unto me, unto the uttermost part of the earth."
Can't you feel there's a God looking at the sky above? Can't you feel that there's a God when your heart is filled with love? Well, I can tell you that it felt enough to say 100 times each day, I believe in God and He'll stake my life, that He loves me and I'll follow in His way. I believe in God and He'll stake my life, that He loves me and I'll follow in His way. I believe in God and He'll stake my life, that He loves me and I'll follow in His way every day.